The last and final step is to automate the process. Unfortunately, at this point, there is no full automation end to end for list building yet. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to outsource. With outsourcing, there are many platforms out there. You can start with platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, there's freelancer.com as well. But before you even think about automating or outsourcing, you want to always ensure that you have the right process in place first. So do it yourself. Do it yourself to ensure that your process works. That's the most important piece. And then you have clear expectations in terms of what is realistic for the number of leads you can capture per hour and how repeatable it is. It doesn't make sense to automate it if it's not a good process, if you have no idea how much you're going to get out of it, because then you create a lot of noise. So when you are outsourcing, some key tips. Number one is you want to try to avoid buying lists. Some freelancers, some agencies, they will offer a list of your potential contacts. Avoid that because those lists are often recycled and sold to multiple buyers. And when that happens, then people with emails on that list tend to receive a high volume of cold emails. And it's also very likely that your email will end up in their spam or promotional folder as well. Number two is you want to provide clear and specific instructions. These outsource talent, these freelancers, they tend to be quite good at doing certain processes, but sometimes you need to coach them through the decision-making process itself because maybe they are not familiar with your business or they're not as savvy when it comes to the sales process itself. So it's good for tasks that are repeatable, but still require some amount of human judgment. Like, for example, they still need to try to identify who's the right decision maker. Is this a good company or not? Those kind of things. But you also need to coach them through how to get unstuck if they have certain roadblocks. So, for example, you might need to specify with them to identify decision makers in this priority order. Number one, the owner. Number two, the VP of sales. Number three, the sales manager, for example. You might want to tell them enter a maximum of no more than 2 contacts per company. If you're not able to find a potential decision maker, skip to the next entry. Don't spend more than 5 minutes trying to find the right person at a company, because then maybe they're spending too much time. You don't want them to spend a whole hour just trying to get contact info for one single company. Or, for example, if the email is not discoverable through a platform like hunter.io, that you ask them to verify these formats, like first name at companyname.com, or maybe last name at companyname.com, or maybe first name dot last name at company.com. And if neither of those three work, through an email verifier to move on to the next entry again. So be clear and specific, or else when they come across those kind of situations, they'll get stuck. And then you'll find a situation where they come back to you and be like, oh, yes, I worked 5 hours, but I only got like 2 entries kind of thing. Third is to test multiple different freelancers as well with the same list, because you want to identify the best person to outsource to. There may be multiple different people, and some of them are faster when it comes to list building, but at the same time, maybe some of them are poorer in terms of quality. Maybe they make a lot of typos, a lot of mistakes, a lot of duplicate entries. So you want to test multiple to identify the best. Don't only look for the most entries per hour. Ensure there's also low rate of errors as well. So what I like to do is generally, if I have a list, let's say I have 50 contacts, or if I'm going after a specific list source, what I do is I segment different portions of the list to different freelancers so that there's a minimum amount of overlap. And then when that happens, then I can ensure that whatever data I get, I can actually still use it. I'm not going to get like 5 different freelancers giving me the same data, right? And next and last is ensure that you automate in batches. Same as when we are thinking about the list source, obviously you want to make sure the list source is good before you actually automate it. Same with freelancers as well. So what I normally do is I give them, let's say, 5 hours a week to start. And then I test, I adjust, change around my copy, test my messaging, see if the list is good quality, if response rates are good. And then if it's good, then yes, go full steam ahead. If not, pause, test different things. Maybe you need to try a different freelancer. Maybe you try a different list source. Maybe you try a different subject line. Maybe it's the email copy itself. Maybe it's your call to action. So that could be many different variables involved.